I mean, imagine for a moment if a former senator was watching, let's say, the Sunday version of Meet the Press. And they were aware of Erick Erickson, who was the guy who got famous by calling Chief Justice Seder a goat effer. Yeah, that was the way that he got his claim to fame. And he has been engaged in a list of conspiracy peddling that it's almost hard for me to actually enumerate. I have a piece here somewhere about it, but let's listen to what he has to say.
Theories on your site.
Here he is. This is on Chuck Todd's Meet the Press. They have introduced Erick Erickson to talk about the dangers of conspiracy theories.
Eric, I'm curious. So you've had to deal with conspiracy theories on your site. You've been sometimes people get mad at you thinking you help traffic these conspiracy theories, and I know that there are others that are.
Pause it. Sometimes people think that you just come out and say it. You've trafficked these. You have trafficked in these. Good.
But whose job is it to get rid of some of this stuff? Whose job is it to purge this stuff? Whose job is it to educate Americans to facts?
I think we all have an obligation here. I mean, just let me address conservatives for a minute. Last week, you had a lot of people pushing maybe this bomber was...
Rush Limbaugh was pushing it, Eric.
You had a lot of people who were pushing this theory. Now we know the facts. Now we know the facts, and yet there are still people pushing this. I got to tell you...
Pause it. So what Erick Erickson is saying is look, the first reaction... It's perfectly legitimate to have a wild conspiracy theory. I mean, for instance, like the caravan. This is a tweet. Now, I didn't see this one because Erick Erickson blocked me years ago. But this was from a week ago. It's not a coincidence that this caravan to the south of us is happening 2 weeks before our federal elections. If you want to bring Erick Erickson on to your television program, ask him what he means by this. What does that mean? It's not a coincidence. Is he suggesting that these Guatemalans and Hondurans who started this caravan weeks and weeks ago and could not make it to the United States until weeks after the election, I mean, that this was like some type of, they timed this out, or did someone else have this idea? Did someone else who had knowledge of our election say, we've got to gin this up down there, we'll get this caravan going? I mean, it would be irresponsible not to speculate. The idea that it could be a coincidence? It's not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Or what about this? Erick Erickson, note to reporters. A growing body of blogs are posting that Kavanaugh's mother presided over the foreclosure of Christine Blasey Ford's childhood home, or at a minimum, her parents' home. I encourage you to honestly vet this, as it could explain motive or fuel conspiracy. Oh, I wonder how people could hear about that conspiracy. Oh, you just told it to us. Well, I'm sure all the people on those blogs, those right-wing blogs, will read what the Washington Post has to say about that. Or when it turns out that there was actually, two different people named Ford who were judges. I'm sure Erick Erickson addressed that on his Twitter feed.
He deleted those tweets.
Oh, did he? Huh. Wow. David Hogg contradicts himself in 2 separate interviews about whether he was at school during the shooting. And no, this isn't a fake news gateway pundit BS story. It's actually an Erick Erickson Redstate BS story. Now, maybe it's unfair to look back a matter of months where there's 3 distinct episodes where Erick Erickson has peddled in conspiracy theories. Or maybe there's this. If reporters really cared about children, they'd also be yelling at Planned Parenthood, asking why they're selling baby body parts and turning a blind eye to child victims of sex trafficking. Yeah, I'm serious. Look at it. Now, granted, that was all the way back in June of 2018. That's all the way back almost 5 months ago.
So it had been fully debunked for a year and a half versus 2 years?
Right. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's get back to him on Meet the Press talking about how the right needs to give up their conspiracy theories after they've been debunked.
Theory. Now we know the facts. Now we know the facts, and yet there are still people pushing this. I got to tell you that from my perspective, when we know all the facts now about the guy last week, and you're still pushing this theory, you're at war with the truth. And if you're a conservative who's at war with the truth, you're not really being conservative.
Pause it. To be conservative, in other words, means you put out a conspiracy theory, no matter how insane it is, based on no facts. No facts, right? Because it's not true. So it couldn't have been based on facts. It was based on conjecture and sloppy, I don't know, fictionalizing.
That's all fair play.
That's conservative. But once someone in the mainstream media presents the facts in a way that I believe them, then after that, it's not conservative, even though every single conservative outlet will carry it.
Wait, this is the new dispute in conservatism?
Apparently.
Do you do reckless conspiracy theories forever? Or do you stop at some point when it becomes like just embarrassing?
I am willing to bet.
That's the big division.
I am willing to bet. I don't have the time to do this. But over the course of Erick Erickson's radio and print career, that he has talked about Vince Foster. Because certainly his idol, Rush Limbaugh, has. And that was disproven 30 some odd years ago, 20 some odd years ago. Any more to this? All right, let's listen to more of this. Because this is the part where Chuck Todd says, hey, I don't know why we invited you on the show.
You're at war with the truth. And if you're a conservative who's at war with the truth, you're not really being conservative.
Rush Limbaugh was questioning the stickers on the van.
Across the board, we saw a bunch of conservatives doing this. Now we know the facts. The question is,
I
do they
will
continue?
never criticize
The
Rush
problem
Limbaugh.
is, in this situation, we have a lot of people who no longer trust the media. They don't trust institutions. They don't trust their neighbor. We've gone inward. Unfortunately, I do think it's going to be an external threat that brings us together. There is nothing left in this country that unifies us as a whole. We all have our own different media outlets. We have our social media outlets. We have our people we engage
Pause it.
with. And
Remember, this is the guy who pushed a conspiracy theory and said, oh, the media that my audience doesn't believe, they should be the ones who vet it. Talk about a disingenuous F. I mean, give me a break. And if the elite in this country do not at least use their elite status to put pressure on these other elites to clamp down on this, guess what? It ain't happening. Bottom line, it ain't happening.